his top 10 returning players for 2025. I sent you a picture of this, so you should have it too. I kind of want to go down this list and let's talk about this a little bit. And you can tell me what you think. Should we start at 10 and work our way to 1? I feel like that makes
Either way is fine with me.
Okay.
I want to focus on one specifically, but
I
not
know
number
which
one
you want to. I know who you want.
But I mean, that's what I think is most interesting here. But yeah, like we can go through it. Yeah. So Sam Levitt at number 10, Arizona State. I like that. I think that's cool.
I don't mind that. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about playoff team, returning quarterback, plays in a conference where he absolutely has the ability to have tons of success.
So he's the third quarterback on here. And just being fair, I'm going to have this complaint in a little bit. I don't think he's the third best quarterback in college football. I think I'd put him behind Drew Allar. I think I'd put him behind Cade Klubnik. I might have him I think I'd certainly have him well within the top 10. Yeah. And I could see arguments over some other guys. He might be around 5-ish to me. I think it's a little high. But I do really like Sam Levitt. I'm not trying to hate on it.
Ari's brain, though, as to how he came up on the top. Like, are you talking top 10 returning players in a vacuum? Just the top 10 players, you got a skills contest lined up. These are the top 10 best performers. Or are you talking about the top 10 best players based on the system they're going to be playing in, the other players around them? Like, there's definitely different ways to look at this to determine. And you've got to think, so if you're not looking at it in a vacuum, I'm looking at Levitt as a returning quarterback on a playoff team in a conference set up for him to win a lot of football games. So if that's how I'm judging this, I could see the argument for him being on this list for sure. Now, if he'd said top 10 returning quarterbacks, period, and we're talking about draftability or something like that, I mean, maybe he isn't worth being one of 3 quarterbacks mentioned, but I don't know. I mean, in terms of setup for success, I feel like he's got to be up there for that.
I'd still have Drew Allar over him. I'd probably have Cade over him too. I hate Miami. I might have Carson Beck over him. I know Beck wasn't very good this year, but I don't know. So if you're considering their system and stuff, who's going to put up a lot of yards, I don't know. I think he's high, but not Ari, which he might have been. But I think Sam's a little high on this one. All right,
Let's go number 9, Jeremiah Love. I see this too, right? Had a great season at Notre Dame. They're returning a lot, and I think they are pretty dialed in on making another playoff run.
I think, I'm fine with this. He's one of the top. I mean, obviously, with this list, he's the number 1 running back on this list.
Yeah. The only running back on this list.
Yeah, I guess I'm fine with that. Yeah, I don't know that I would definitively argue that somebody else is a better running back in college football right now going into next year. So, yeah, this is a good one for me.
All right, 8, Arch Manning.
I think you're projecting a little bit here with Manning. I think he's incredibly talented. I think he's really, really good. I think to put him into the top 10 players in college football, you're projecting out that he's going to be really good. Which he probably will be really good.
Yeah.
But you're hoping he takes a bit of a step. I think this is kind of, to me, and I didn't pick Arby's brain when he did this, to me, some of the names on here are how you're kind of projecting them to play through the year. Where they'll be at the end of the year. I think Arch is probably a top 5 quarterback in college football next year. I think he's the 8th best player in college football right now? I'd have a hard time saying that. Will he be by the end of the year? There's probably a pretty good chance. I don't know that I'd have him at 8, but I'm fine with this one. I don't think there's there's not a Cam Ward or a Shedeur Sanders right now that I'm putting all the eggs in on one basket. And so, Arch is fine in this top 10.
Number 7, they have Peter Woods, defensive tackle from Clemson.
Yeah, and then we can do these two together. Dylan Stewart also at South Carolina, so a couple of rivals back to back. I'm fine with this. I think these are both first-round draft picks. I think they were both incredibly talented, incredibly successful this year. I mean, shoot, even the next one, Colin Simmons, number 5 at Texas.
We Simmons in there too.
Yeah, they'll all be for outside of some kind of crazy injury or something. They'll all be first-round draft picks. They're all incredibly talented, and they were all incredibly productive. I think they'll all be great this year.
All right. So the number 4 player on this list is wide receiver Ryan Smith out of Alabama, who obviously was Ryan Williams, the youngest player in college football this season. I believe he was 17 for the vast majority of the season. Incredibly talented. Honestly, Alabama could have probably used him even more than they did. and he's got to come back, right? One of those guys who you're like, whew, you probably could go pro right away. Like, he's got to come back. So I don't have any issue with Ryan Williams right here.
Yeah, obviously we're not giving anything away. Jeremiah Smith at number 1. So he's the number 2 wide receiver. I don't really care. Like, how do you rank a wide receiver versus an edge prospect? Like, to me, like, who cares? How do you really rank that? So yeah, he's the second best wide receiver in college football. I have no doubts about that. He was doing it with a terrible quarterback the entire year, which makes it maybe even more impressive. And so, yeah, he is to me, when I look at these, I kind of just break them down by like what positions are around them, because again, how do you rank a quarterback versus a wide receiver? So yeah, Ryan Williams, wide receiver 2, easily. This is one that made a lot of sense. Skip number 3 and then go to number 2.
Okay. Number 2, Caleb Downs, defensive back out of Ohio State.
He was it. Yeah. I think this is a little high. Okay. But again, I'm nitpicking because how do you compare a wide receiver with the defensive back with a quarterback? He probably is the best defensive back. He is so talented. Yeah. Obviously transferring over from Bama the year before. He is so good. And he made game-changing plays over and over and over again for that Ohio State defense, which didn't need any help being more talented than everyone else in the country. Adding him in the transfer portal last year was, I don't even think it was necessary because they still win the national championship without him. But adding him was just an embarrassment of riches add. And yeah, to me, I think Ari hit on this. He is the best defensive back in the country. Certainly the best safety. I like Caleb Downs here. Again, 2 versus 8, who cares? But he's the best defensive back, so I'm good with him being on this list.
You already talked
Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah, I was going to say, you already said Jeremiah Smith is number 1. So Ohio State, the number 1 offensive player, the number 1 defensive player returning.
What nice problem to have.
We don't know who their coordinators are going to be. That's a story for another moment, but they definitely have some talent. So your main issue, though, with this is the fact that number 3 is DJ Lagway. Obviously, the returning quarterback for Florida. He only became the starter when Graham Mertz got hurt. He's a true freshman. I don't have an issue with this. I think about who he's got returning around him. I think about the fact that he's going to have a top 5 offensive line that he's playing behind.
Elite offensive coordinator.
Do what?
Elite offensive coordinator that's calling the plays. I saw that laugh. No, okay.
Always looking to get me in trouble.
So I think DJ Lagway is the most talented. Okay, let me back up let me think through that real quick before I heap all the praise. My initial reaction was going to be to say that he's the most talented quarterback in college football. Like physically gifted, talented. Yeah. I want to be careful with that because I'm probably forgetting somebody that's like, oh shoot, like I just forgot. But like as far as like physical attributes and talent, like this is not like a hate on Lagway thing. But if I was going to ask you before you saw this list, if I was going to ask you who's the best quarterback in college football, I know you're a homer. I don't know that you would have said DJ Lagway is the best quarterback in college football. That's kind of I just think, kind of like I said with Arch, you're projecting a ton here.
But here's my thing. He's a top 5 odds for the Heisman. So is it shocking that somebody that's a top 5 odds for the Heisman is on the top 10 best players list that are returning?
When he's behind 3 other quarterbacks in that top 5 odds, it's a little bit surprising to me that Ari has him as his number 1 quarterback. Yes. Yeah. So to answer that question. So yeah, if I had come to you and said, is DJ Lagway the best quarterback in college football right now? I don't think you would have said yes to that.
Yeah.
Does he have the potential? I think he has every bit of potential. And I think unless Arch Manning comes back which I've heard some talk that like Arch could go pro after this 25 season, but that he will come back and play the 26 season as well, which is crazy to think about.
I mean, he's making millions of dollars.
Right.
Do it at Texas.
And really wants to win. So maybe if they win the national title, that changes. But I think Lagway has a great shot to be the number 1 or number 2 overall draft pick. So this is not me hating on him. I just don't think he's the best quarterback in college football right now. Like that's my only complaint with it. Kind of the same reason I have a problem putting Sam Levitt at number 10. I don't think he's the 3rd best quarterback in college football. I think you're projecting out. Like you're thinking, not you specifically, if you're Ari and you're putting this together, you're thinking that Lagway takes a massive step forward this year to not be good. He was good this year. There's no doubt about it. But to be elite, to be the best quarterback in college football. I think that's where I probably am like, that feels like a little bit of an overreach to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we shall see. 3 might be a little high. I'd put him on this top 10 list. I don't know that I'd put him 3, but I'd put him somewhere in the top
I think
10.
that's fair. I think having him, yeah, I think that's a good compromise. I think that I don't know that I don't know with Arch and DJ. I think you're projecting out for them to both take pretty big steps right now. Like I
Yeah.
can't confidently say that either one of them are number quarterback 1 or quarterback 2 at this moment.
Yeah.
I just think you need to see it. You need to see it for a full season. You need to see what they look like.
This is
and go
what
from
we
there.
do in the off season, TJ. We
But
come
that's
up
not,
with way too early top 10 college
and
football
I guess
players.
you gotta add some spice to it, right? You
Yes,
gotta add some
give
flavor
us
to it.
something to debate about. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. This was part of our live show. If you want more content just like this, make sure you are subscribed to A Peek Inside SEC Football. Talk to you real soon.